Hey everybody. Ooh, it's cold. Lousy smirch weather. Anyway, um, today I am here to talk to you about Transgender Day of Visibility. Yeah, another trans thing. I know. I'm sorry. Not really though. I'm not sorry about that. Actually, yeah, it's really important to talk about this. Today is a day that was like originally founded because the person who founded it noticed that, like, the only day of recognition for trans people in the LGBT community, really the only major not holiday, but the only major day to acknowledge things, acknowledge trans people, was really can't speak English today. Transgender Day of Remembrance, which I've spoken about here before, which is just meant to mourn the loss of trans people who were murdered in the community or committed suicide. So yeah, it's like it was kind of a sad thing that we only had that one thing, and that we were only acknowledging that. So this person came up with this day to acknowledge, um, you know, the more positive aspects of the trans community, like important living figures in the community, as well as just a day to encourage people for whom it's safe to do so, to be visible in our community, and outside of the community. I mean, so that so that people can realize we exist, basically, and I guess treat us a little bit better. um, my experience so far, as as a trans man, non-binary trans man specifically, as far as being out goes, ever since I've been out, it's well, let me put it this way: transitioning is it's the beginning, or it's the end of one struggle and the beginning of another one entirely. Um, the previous struggle was, figuring myself out. This struggle is now continuing to do that, um, but also trying to like flesh that out more in a physical way and in a social way, and having that constantly stomped on and rejected. So it's a different type of struggle. Yeah. Oops. Let me see here. I forgot to pop open my stream. There we go. Just in case anybody's actually in the chat, which is probably not likely. It's kind of late. Anyway, where was I? Right. So yeah, this day is for that. It's for, us to talk about our experiences too, so that we can so we can show you that we're here and show you what it's like for us too. That's another aspect of this. So something that I've had to deal with in my journey so far, transitioning, is even though I present, pretty masculine, excuse the very flamboyant blanket here, but it's cold, and I love it. The thing about that is, I still get ma'amed a lot out in public. Like, people still call me ma'am a lot. And I'm sure that people have their various theories on why I'm being still gendered incorrectly. But yeah, unless somebody specifically asks you, by the way, if your trans friend specifically asks you, then yeah, go ahead and answer them about why they're not passing. I hate that word, passing. But unless they specifically ask you, don't ever offer like a reason you think they're not passing, or any advice on how to do that, because it just it's not necessary, and sometimes it won't get received well by everybody. Like, it's just better not to. Anyway, I mean, like I said, unless they ask you directly, in which case that might even be hard for you to like want to tell them something like that, because it's an awkward subject. Like I said, passing, ugh, gross subject, gross term. Anyway, so yeah, the thing about passing, yeah, yeah. Even though I present as masculine, it doesn't seem to matter, because the thing is that masculine women exist, obviously, right? So people, I guess they just don't want to. They don't want to insult somebody who's a woman. I don't know. It seems sexist, but like, I guess they just don't want to insult a woman by, accidentally calling her a dude, if that's the case, if she's just a really masculine woman. But like, uh, still sucks, because like, no matter what I do, like, if I dress as masculine as possible, even if I wear a suit, I could still be gendered as a really, really butch lesbian. So, uh, and it seems like the reverse isn't necessarily true of trans women. If there are any trans women that are out there watching this, feel free to share any experiences with me that you might have on that, as far as that goes. But like, I don't think this is a thing that trans women have to deal with as much, because like, it seems like for the most part, even if trans women like try like a little bit to present femininely, um, that they tend to get coded the way that they intend to be coded, um, because because it's not really widely accepted for men to present in a feminine way and still be men. Like, I mean, we're starting to have that change a little bit now, like with a lot of these more feminine dudes, like the male makeup artists, that you see a lot of online and stuff like that. That they do their makeup and stuff. So we're seeing a slight shift in that, but like, for the most part, still people will call you ma'am, because again, I think it might just be a sexist thing where they just don't want to offend a woman, because they think it'll like hurt her feelings more than it would hurt a man's feelings, I guess. But like, um it does suck to be constantly, like, literally every interaction that you have people call you ma'am or hun or darling or sweetie or whatever, or, I mean, I know that not all of those are necessarily gendered terms, but um, when you feel like the person thinks that you're female, it kind of becomes gendered feeling in your head. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Um, but yeah, I mean, being called she and ma'am and mama. I get mama a lot too. That's lovely. I actually have this lady at the local Whataburger who, you know, is just there to get some frickin' hash browns, minding my own business. And she's like, I mean, I know she was just trying to make conversation, and that's nice. But she said, yeah, hey, I've been meaning to tell you the past couple of times that you've been here, but you look just like I think she said her sister. You look just like my sister. And I was like, I almost wanted to say, like, so does she look like a dude then? But like, I didn't want to be a jerk. I'm half the time, like, I'm really usually too, shy to say anything about it. Uh, so that's why I felt it was like kind of important that I talk about that stuff today, because like, I normally don't speak up about that kind of stuff. In fact, recently I did try to speak up about something, because something happened at a Wendy's, actually. Similar reason. I was just there minding my own business, doing my thing, and the lady at the counter kept calling me ma'am over and over, and my boyfriend was with me, and he and I both corrected her, but not in a rude way. We were just like, oh, it's sir. Actually, I'm a guy. And then, my boyfriend was also one of the multiple times this lady kept calling me ma'am. My boyfriend poked his head in and was like, he's a guy. It's sir. We weren't like, being jerks about it. We weren't yelling or anything. But she didn't take it so well, I guess. And so she was like, the final time that we corrected her, she was like, okay, I got it, and she, gave me like a little snide grin type thing. And I was like, okay, well, that was an awkward thing that just happened. And I like walked away and went and hung out with my boyfriend by the little wall to wait for my stuff to come out. And when I was walking away, though, she said, I'll call your name when your stuff is ready. And I was like, huh? I was like, I didn't give her a name. Did I give her a name? And Eden was like, no, I don't think you gave her your name. And I looked at my receipt looking for like what name they had on there, because I was panicking, thinking I was about to get dead named, because some restaurants, they'll take your name from whatever card you're paying with, right? And I was like, oh God, I hope that's not what they're going to do. I look at it though, and then, Eden like points it out to me. He's like, dude. And it said sir on the receipt. Sir. To mock me. To mock me, like as in like, oh, okay, yeah, you want to be called sir? Fine, that's your name now. I made a complaint to Wendy's, but like they don't really care, so that's cool. I mean, they took some information down and then like said that they would, forward it to somebody, I guess whoever's relevant, whatever relevant department that is, and it's been a bit. Like they haven't contacted me back about it, so I also never received an apology from like anybody. But that's about what I expect. That's like what a lot of us deal with. That's what I'm talking about. Like this is average day type stuff. Like this is why I don't usually address it every day, because it gets exhausting. It's really exhausting having to constantly validate your experience, validate your existence, to defend defend the fact that you are you. That's like having to correct people constantly and feeling like a jerk for correcting people, even though it's not really a big thing that you're asking to just be called the correct pronouns. It's really not a big deal. I mean, think about it. When you meet a cat for the first time and you bend down and you pet it and you're like, oh, that's such a cute kitty, what's his name? And the person tells you, oh, it's actually a girl. And then you're like, oh, I mean, do you go, oh, that's gonna be difficult for me to get used to. I don't know if I can do that. No, of course not. You just go, oh, my bad, sorry. What's her name? And if you're willing to do that for an animal, I would hope you'd be willing to do that for a human, especially if it's a person that you care about, right? So, anyway, plus, you just never know who you're talking to. Hey, AJ, you just never know who you're talking to when you're speaking to somebody, a stranger, or even maybe your friend. You don't know. Like, for all you know, your friend could be trans but hasn't come out yet. Or for all you know, the person that you're speaking to at your job is trans. So like, I don't know. For me, I'm more like, I kind of just wish people wouldn't automatically assume any gender. Like I wish they just wouldn't be like sir or ma'am or anything. I I almost prefer like that they just leave that off. Period, because it would just be better. Like, I mean, unless somebody you know somebody offers you pronouns for them, like how can you really be sure? I mean, there are some cis guys that look very feminine and have really high voices. There are some cis women that have really deep voices and, you know, can look really masculine. You know, there's all kinds of variants of human beings out there. So I don't know. I mean, it's not even like just about not being mean to trans people. It's just about like maybe we shouldn't assume stuff about people just by their outer appearance or how they sound. So I don't know. If you guys and gals and everybody in between are, you know, if you're out there watching this right now, and you're just like, and you know a trans person who struggles with this, because like there are some trans people who, strangely enough, they don't have to deal with this that much, and that's great. And those guys are lucky, and those girls and those non-binary people are lucky. They're great. They're all lucky that this is not a thing that they have to deal with, because there are some non-binary people that like, you know, they're pronoun indifferent, you know, and that stuff like doesn't really mess with them that much, and that's good. Those people are lucky, and there are some trans women. I know some trans women that pass for cis women. I know some trans guys that pass for for cis guys. And yeah, so like I guess there are some trans people that don't have to deal with this that much. But if you know somebody who is trans who struggles with this, especially if you're a cis person who's never had to deal with this issue like yourself, you should try this experiment. You should try this. Go out, you know, go out for a whole day, okay? And every time that you have an interaction with somebody out in public who doesn't know you, sorry for the yelling cat, he's having a hard time over there. Anyway, yeah, anytime you interact with somebody out in public for the whole day, pay attention to whether or not they make an assumption about what gender you are. Like if they just assume that you're a sir, like if they just automatically call you sir, even if that's correct, just make a note of when they assume without you telling them or giving them any indication. And however many times you come up with at the end of the day that happens, that they just assume, that's how many times we usually have to correct somebody in a day. Seriously. And it, like I said, that's why it gets exhausting, because, you know, having to constantly do that, it's like, it crushes your soul a little. It does. And, you know, it's a lot to bear. So, you know, just a little experiment, you know, to try out, just to get a taste of like the volume of times in a day that we have to actually, you know, have our hearts ripped out of our chest, because, you know, it does feel like crap. It really feels bad. It feels so bad. Because, you know, we do put a lot of effort in trying to, you know, be seen for who we are. And I mean, it sucks that we even have to do that in the first place, because, you know, most of us would really rather that we could just live and people just, you know, treat us the correct way without us having to really try that hard. So we could just, you know, so we could just exist, you know. But no, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so being visible, like for the people that are out there, the trans people that are out there who are visibly trans, like that are out publicly, thanks. Because like that is, that's a stressful thing. Because, you know, most trans people tend to want to like, it seems like most trans people tend to want to transition and then live their life and just pass as the gender that they're trying to pass as. And, you know, that's usually how it goes for binary trans people, mostly, I would think. But for those that are out, like, they have to still deal with, probably a lot of mental strife and stress because of the fact that people knowing that they're trans means that they feel like they're probably being clocked and analyzed and looked at constantly. Like, let me see if I can tell, how they used to look. That kind of stuff. That stuff is so stressful. Like, these are just like normal everyday things for us. It's like, these are the kinds of things that plague our minds on a daily basis. Is like, am I being clocked? Can they tell? What are they thinking when they look at me? I mean, it even affects their livelihoods, trans people. Like, you can find yourself in a situation where you're trying to get a job and you're not quite there yet, as far as passing goes, or you feel like you're not anyway, and you're still in the process of, like, where you're still getting misgendered, half the time and shit. And that makes trying to get a job, especially in this political climate, terrifying. Like, and it's quite an endeavor on top of that. Like, there's a lot more stuff to think about besides, is my resume looking nice? It's also, how am I going to explain the name change on my background check? How am I going to how are we going to discuss this? How are they going to take the fact that I'm trans when they find out that I'm trans? Because they are going to find out. How are they going to treat me when they meet me in person, even though they seem to like me over the video interview? And especially around here, it's really awful. I'm in Texas, so, there's not a lot of people that are super friendly to trans people here. Oh, what's my gender? My gender is non-binary male. Well, non-binary. I'm a non-binary trans guy. I identify as a non-binary trans guy because it makes the most sense to me as far as explaining who I am in that respect. I mean, I'm non-binary, but, like, obviously male-leaning. Yeah, I'm aware trans is not a gender. Thank you for sharing that. But non-binary and male and, well, yeah, male, female, and non-binary are all valid genders. And all of the stuff under the non-binary umbrella, as it were. Non-binary. You're funny. Anyway, so yeah, these things are important to talk about, and that's why I came on here to talk about it. Like, people think it's oh, it's a first world problem, blah blah blah. Oh no, it's not a first world problem. Transgender issues transcend, you know, it transcends any first world, second world, third world crap. It's all part of the same everything. Okay, like, trans stuff is everybody's problem. Well, I mean, every world's problem. How about you are a good human being? Isn't that okay? Yeah, sure, that's okay. I mean, if you want to be a good human being, be a good human being. I mean, I identify as an okay human being here and there. I try. By the way, hi, Denise. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. But yeah. Yeah, I just I think that it's very, very slowly improving, but it is improving out there. Just the more and more people are visible, the more people realize that there are trans people everywhere. And we're valid, and our, you know, our pain matters too. And, you know, we deserve respect and dignity just as much as any other human being does. So that's why we have this kind of thing, so that we can poke our heads out. You know, those of us that aren't like super duper vocal all the time about it. You know, I mean, I don't go announcing it in public that I'm trans usually. This is about as public as it gets right here. I don't go to the grocery store and say, hey, I'm trans. But people that are like public figures that have to deal with that, yeah, like they do that so that we can have hope for a slightly less tumultuous future as trans people, I guess, in society. Thanks, AJ, and thank you, Denise. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, if you have friends and family who are trans, or you're trans yourself, you know, this should be of some importance to you. This subject. You know, if you're trans, be visible if it's safe. Don't put yourself in danger if it's not safe for you to be visible right now. And that's the reality for a lot of us. If you are an ally, you know, then hug your trans friends and family, and, you know, thank the ones of them who are visible for their, you know, for doing so, because like it's a big deal. And just, yeah, try to be supportive of each other, everybody. Anyway, I'm gonna hop off here and hopefully talk to you soon about some stuff that isn't related to this. Actually, I believe the next thing we're going to be talking about is the memorial. So I guess I'll be seeing you next time for that. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm really glad to see some of you here. Like, I'm really, really glad to see, like, AJ and Denise especially. Like, it's been a bit. Hope you're both doing great. Anyway, take it easy, everybody. And yeah. Just be good to each other, okay?